What is up, ladies and gentlemen, YouTube? That's right, I'm Chris Smith. You see the background? Yeah, I want to switch it up a bit. But that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is we're talking about Black Mass. That is right, Black Mass. It came out a while ago with Johnny Depp. I just finally watched it. I wanted to kind of get my review out there. If anybody was actually interested, they may not be, but let's see how this thing goes. Now, Black Mass, if you didn't know, is a story about Waddy Bulger, a nickname, whatever it is. But it's a pretty much a gangster flick, right? It's directed by Scott Cooper. He directed Crazy Heart, Oscar-winning Crazy Heart, performance by Jeff Bridges. He also directed Out of the Furnace, which was not really the best movie. To me, just kind of give you a bit of a recap on what, because when I saw the movie, I was just like, I felt like he tried to be a little bit too dark just to be too dark. Not really any real reason. And then everybody just kind of felt wasted, and everybody seemed a little bit miscasted, but that's my problem in Out of Furnace. But this isn't about Out of Furnace. It's about Black Mass. Now, let's talk about some good things in here. The plot synopsis is pretty much basically your typical gangster movie. As I said, a story about Waddy Bulger, how he became, just a small-time crime gangster to the kind of like this head guy, FBI's most wanted man, The great things about this movie, or the good enough things. Now, I like Scott Cooper for the most part. I'm thinking of Crazy Heart, folks. But for the most part, I like Scott Cooper, and I kind of like his work of sorts. But sometimes it seems like he likes violence. Now, like I said this before, but as long as violence it works with your story, and it doesn't just seem like you're just throwing the shit out there just to be throwing it out there, then I have no problem with it. If it fits your vision, great. But if your vision is just blood and guts, and that's pretty much it, with no context of the story to add with it, then it makes no sense to add it in there. But that's what Out of the Furnace seemed like. Now, this doesn't seem like it, no, because these men were violent gangsters and they were very vicious people. Now, the things I like about this movie, and it's pretty much the only real reason kind of to really care for this movie, otherwise it would just be a very basic gangster movie, and for the most part it is. But for my opinion, it's Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp, now people kind of have been forgetting about Johnny Depp in Black Mass. Nobody's really given any Golden Globes nominations, or some people say he may not even be nominated for an Oscar. I say don't do it. I feel like that would really be a bad decision. Now, granted, there's a lot of great performances, but I would say this. If anybody, this is my opinion, if anybody from The Big Short, right, and I thought The Big Short is okay, but if anybody from The Big Short gets nominated, I'm going to kind of be disappointed, because I feel like Depp worked his ass off in this movie. I did not see Johnny Depp. I saw an albino fucking vicious gangster with a Boston accent, and he knocked it out of the park. Johnny Depp is fantastic in this movie. I believed him. I did not see Johnny Depp in Dark Shadows. I did not see Captain Jack. I didn't see, any of his wacky characters with stupid faces and whatnot. I saw Waddy Bulger, even though I didn't know Waddy Bulger. I saw Waddy Bulger's ghost, because he looked a little creepy. Now, some things that were great in this movie was, I liked his scene with his son, right? If you remember the scene where he's talking about the vitamin C and whatnot, it says that, if nobody saw it, then it happened. I really enjoyed that, because it's kind of like a parallel world of sorts, him telling him something about that, and he's really meaning something else, and obviously the audience understands it. But I really enjoyed that scene. Obviously, the scene that was in the teaser trailer where it was, the family secret, that's a very intense scene. To me, it kind of reminded me of another review, which I did today, but it reminded me of kind of like the Inglourious Basterds opening scene, where it just is this just got very uncomfortable very quickly, and to the point where you just okay, is he about to kill him or what? You don't know what this guy's motives. I don't know what the fuck's going on. I'm messing up. Motives. You don't know what his motives is. Just saying. But, like I said, this movie, I liked the Boston thing, because people say Boston or South Boston, have a lot of crime waves and whatnot. It kind of reminded me a bit of the town. But, unfortunately, let's talk about some of the performances. Like I said, I talked about Depp. Benedict Cumberbatch, I don't know why, I didn't really believe him with the Boston accent. Not only that, but I feel like Joel Edgerton and Benedict Cumberbatch should have been brothers. Instead of, Benedict Cumberbatch and Johnny Depp. I feel like they look like twins in this movie, especially. But Edgerton did a great performance, or a solid good performance. I feel like everybody did good performances. somebody that I did not like, and I'll get to this in the negatives. Like I said, it showed a nice thing, but at the same time, it kind of followed this cliche thing as all these mobster movies. You know, they eventually get caught. They have the descriptive things of how it kind of falls out. You know, like, well, this man got stuck with a life sentence of 12 years. This year he got caught by the FBI. But like, we know this type of thing, you know, and unfortunately, everybody kind of is in Scorsese's shadow when it comes to these gangster movies, to the point where I feel like you can't really work around that sandbox, unfortunately. And some have managed to do it, but at the same time, still being very similar to like Goodfellas or any of Scorsese's stuff. Now, some things that I didn't like in this movie. By the way, I actually did enjoy Dakota Johnson, even though her accent seemed like it was on and off a bit. But I like the Dakota Johnson, much better than 50 Shades of Grey. But what I didn't like the way they set the story up. Now, to me, I'm not a big fan of flashback narration or flashback storytelling, really, because at the very beginning, one of his people, right, his former people got caught, and now eventually they're ratting them out. They're asking for a plea bargain, and then now we're going to flashbacks and telling how he did the story. Now, Meth Damon, that's right, I said Meth Damon. If you've seen Breaking Bad on the show, you get the joke. But for Meth Damon, you know, he's telling the story, and a couple other crew members. And for me, I didn't really like that, because some of the people weren't really there at that point in time, and then they don't really actually say. They're not very clear as to who is telling that part of the story. So therefore, if you think it's fake Meth Damon telling the story, you'd be like, well, he's telling that part where he wasn't at, but then it could be the other guy, but he's not really there. To me, that didn't really make any sense. Like I said, there's solid performances in here, and it's solid directing, but unfortunately, I feel like this movie really holds up because of Johnny Depp. It's very similar to Legend. Now, I enjoyed this movie better than Legend. You know, I feel like this movie could have almost survived without Johnny Depp, almost. Whereas Legend would have just fell without Tom Hardy. That's just my opinion. It's better directing. It's also slightly better writing. The best scenes come from Johnny Depp. And I guess that's good, but at the exact same time, this is a big ensemble thing, and unfortunately, nobody else is really memorable in the movie other than Johnny Depp. When you have a big ensemble, everybody needs to be memorable for the most part, but unfortunately, I can't really remember anything anybody else did other than Depp and his interesting lines, you know, like, you know, there's one line in the movie where he's like, you know, you better take your best shot, because if you don't, I tell you, I'll eat you. To me, that was a good line. He carried himself very well. He had a presence to the thing. When Depp wasn't on the screen, which is very rarely, the movie to me kind of just goes on autopilot, so to speak. But it is a good movie. Is it a classic? No. Should the movie be nominated? No. The director? Script? No. But Johnny Depp? Yes. Johnny Depp knocked it out of the park. Johnny Depp actually managed to put on a great performance finally in quite some time. The quality looks like it's going down a bit. The light is going. I'm losing it, but I'm about to wrap this up no matter what. Yes, that is my review. If I had to put this, I would say a solid 7.5. Unfortunately, it comes out to maybe a bit of cliche, but Johnny Depp makes this thing a little bit more average out. Go see it. It's a pretty solid film. Much better than Legend, in my opinion, but that's just my opinion. And everybody has one, so maybe my answer's wrong. But comment, subscribe, like. I'm Chris Smith. This is 2 today. Signing out.